Hi everybody, this is Emilio Yepes with Lighthouse Internet Media. We are a digital marketing firm located in Miami, Florida. Today on my blog I'm talking about the best suggestions or ideas that you should probably consider before starting an e-commerce site. One of the things that is rapidly happening is a lot of these brick and mortar and traditional retailers that we've consulted and worked with over the years are making a big push to move their operation online. Now I know this has been happening for quite a long time. This isn't anything new. However, what I have seen is an increase in interest from retailers saying, look, we've got to start putting our product and inventory online, and we have to become more convenient for the user or our customer should they want to buy our product. Obviously, what I've also seen is less people want to open up shops or retail storefronts and dive right into the online market, but they don't really know where to start. So some of the things I did today on my blog is basically explain a few things that you may want to consider. Now, there's a long list that I'm going to go over, but I'm going to go over some of the fundamental things in this particular blog post. If you want some more information, you're more than free to come and visit us again and sort of get get the scoop on everything else that we're going to be sharing. One of the first things that I explain to most retailers that want to go online is that they must hire an expert. Most of these small or medium-sized merchants or businesses think they can all do it on their own, and that's fine. You can do whatever you want on your own, but what you're going to find is that you're going to be spending a lot more time, a lot more money, making a whole lot of mistakes that are probably going to hinder you from getting to that ROI online if you don't hire an expert. Somebody who does it, somebody who builds it, who builds e-commerce sites, who's had experience with e-commerce is ideal. Our particular agency develops e-commerce sites. We've helped out some of the largest businesses on the planet develop their e-commerce sites, but you don't necessarily have to go with us. You can find somebody that you trust in your local area, or someone you maybe already have a relationship built with that maybe does other services for you. But the point is that you have to get a guide. You have to help somebody help you with the process. The second thing you need to do is, or my recommendations is that you should absolutely have that person guide you through all the options. There are particular agencies and businesses out there that specifically work with one particular piece of software or a particular company on the e-commerce side. Some people are strictly Magento developers, others work with hosted solutions, etc. There are a lot of pros and cons to developing an e-commerce site. There are people that will argue that developing a site from scratch and having your own e-commerce site built from scratch is probably a mistake because of so many things that are out there. I will probably say that I somewhat agree with that. I think there are a lot of companies out there today that make the e-commerce solution a whole lot easier. But the important thing is, once you hire your expert, you want to go through all these different options. You want to understand what you're getting involved in. Because at every level, whether or not you decide to do something from scratch or buy something out of the box or go with a hosted solution is going to matter tremendously. And some people say, well, why don't you just use one option? Well, it's not that simple. If you're a fairly large retailer or store and for some reason you're a little behind on getting online and you want to take your business online and you have a tremendous amount of inventory, there are specific things that you should absolutely consider. You're probably in a more complicated type situation, and the typical out-of-the-box e-commerce solution will not be a good fit for you, no matter what anybody tells you. I've built enough of these large sites and have worked with enough of these companies to know that sometimes these faster, quicker shortcuts that are out there are not the best solutions. You want to go with a provider that probably is doing things at a high level with other large retailers. You also want to consider, whether or not you want to go with a hosted solution. All these things should be broken down by your guide or the person you decide to hire for building your site. And it is a little bit of a tedious process, and there's a lot to consider, but it should absolutely be considered within the scope of what your strategy is. If you plan on being there long term and you're a big, name brand and there's a lot that is going on, you're going to need some serious help. You're going to need some very serious expertise. You're going to need someone to help you through that process. If you're smaller to a medium-sized merchant, it may be a little easier for you, and you may want to go through a number of other different routes. The last thing I'll say, and by the way, I'm talking now in generalities. In the future, on my following articles, I'm going to be getting into more details as to what are the pros and cons, what specific providers or software you should probably consider. So just bear with me. The last thing I'll say is that if you are a traditional brick and mortar retailer and you're moving online, or you're going to set up your online operation, you're going to have to change your thinking. There's no way around it. Typically, brick and mortar retailers are used to the in-person contact, selling face-to-face, the customer service. Online, none of that really exists. I mean, and there are ways to do it, via chat and a number of other different ways to sort of give the user that experience, but it's a whole different world. You're closing sales online in somewhat of a completely different fashion. There are a lot of things that are competing, that are for you, and there are things that are competing against you. If I'm in a store and I'm buying something, I might think twice about, going, 5 miles across town or wherever I'm at to get something. Online, you open up another tab and you're looking at another retailer side by side. So there's a lot of competition, but it's also important to note that just because there's competition and there's other factors you have to consider doesn't necessarily mean that you're not to earn or make margin. Some people think they have to quote unquote drop their pants in order to make money. You don't have to do that. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of companies out there that do not do that have built and scaled their model pretty successfully, using a very general retail model online. If you want an example, take Zappos, for example, the shoe store. You'll find that most of the time Zappos is not the most inexpensive or the cheapest guy in town. As a matter of fact, sometimes I found things that I'm looking for and they're probably more expensive, but their unique value proposition is service, and they've created a culture around that, from people within the organization all the way out to how they market and reach their target audience. So there are a lot of things to consider. My suggestion is that if you're interested in getting in the online game and you want to open up an e-commerce site, definitely come back and check us out. If you don't know about us, check us out at Lighthouse internetmedia.wordpress.com, or you can go directly to our site, lighthouse internetmedia.com. For more information on online or e-commerce, keep visiting with us. I'm going to continue to keep sharing different ideas and things you should consider. I could probably go on forever on this subject because there's just so much to consider, but I will try to do my best to condense the information and make it easy for you to understand, and obviously apply it in your strategy and in your endeavor. Until next time, to your success. Hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.